And we are back again with another video, and first I want to show you, for those of you who watched the video where I took my spill in my front yard, and I'm sure it was kind of the Ring doorbell, which my wife will likely release on TikTok at some point, is... Oh, she's up there, she can hear me. Just kidding! Anyways, I want to show you what happened, because some of you commented that it was fairly hilarious. But here's the deal. You can still see the flip-flop imprint right there. The split between the curb or the concrete and here, and I just basically planted my foot right in there and then did a perfectly orchestrated barrel roll onto the grass like I was actually intended to do that. It was great. And jumped up and continued filming because the show must go on. And today, I am wearing shoes because I hate flip-flops. They just never seem to work out. Anyways, so today we're going to talk about the car buying process and some of the tricks that the dealers use and how they absolutely profile you the second you come onto the lot and get you into the conference room and use certain tools that many of you have seen before, but I've seen likely, I think I'm approaching 45, maybe even 50 times that I've bought cars before, and likely several hundred times that I've sat in car dealerships and wrestled and end up walking out just not even buying a car. So just counting the cars I bought, I'm guessing it's approaching 45 or more, and the hundreds of times I've been in dealerships and wrestled with them and had them play all the games and all the tricks and use the Foursquare on me. And now they've got this new form that I'll share with you that they're using to trap people into bigger car payments and slip add-ons on. So I'm going to share all this stuff with you. We're going to jump in the Scat Pack. We're going to drive to a dealership as well where they have a couple swingers priced at over $90,000, as well as a red eye that doesn't show a markup, but you know that there is, because if they're marking one of these up, they're certainly marking that up. And I'm going to see if the cars are there and show them to you. Let's jump in the car and have a little chat. By the way, I am filming today on the Insta360 Go 3, and many of you have asked me about the video where I use this thing, and I mean, it came out great. So I don't know how this is working, how the audio sounds in comparison to this monstrosity, but this thing is so much more convenient, and the little camera will clip off and clip onto my chest if I want to have a little body cam type scenario going, or it'll stick on magnetic areas like the car, on my garage door. It's really slick, and so many of you asked me, so I will put an affiliate link in the description below if you want to check this camera out and get it. Let me see if I can get a reflection here to show you what it looks like. It is really cool. There it is. This thing is amazing. So we're going to use this today for pretty much all the video, so hopefully it comes out great. And I'm going to stick it right here to get you a little kind of cold, warmish start. And we're going to back over it. Let's go. Oh, well, I probably should have closed the flip screen. All right, so we got the POV camera on. I can take this thing down now. Again, it's got the sticky stuff on the back and this little disc here that I can put on it, cover it up, and keep it good to go. But if it does get covered in dust, just rinse it off real quick and you're good to go. So this is the little camera, just mounts right there. I mean, this thing is awesome. So enough about that. Well, not enough about that. This is about $6,000 worth of camera right here. This is $400 worth of camera. So if you guys like how this came out, I will be in heaven using this little camera. But I'm sure it's not as good, but nonetheless, we'll try it out. All right, so let's get started and talk about these dealerships as we head down to a dealership to see what I can find there. And we'll wrap the video with that and maybe capture some interesting conversation. I don't know, but we'll find out in a minute. but let's go ahead and rip by this guy and talk about the buying process. So for many years, if not forever, the buying process has been a pain in the neck until CarMax came along, Tesla came along, and different models came along where you can buy the car online or walk in and it's a no haggle price. The only problem with no haggle pricing is oftentimes it's higher. So CarMax is well known for being a little bit more expensive than anywhere else. Now with that, you do get the opportunity to buy a warranty on any car that they sell, and the experience is a lot less brain damaging. So if you want to avoid the brain damage of wrestling with car salesmen, go into CarMax. It takes me about 20 to 25 minutes to buy a car with CarMax, and I do everything online the last few times I've done it, and then I walk in there, sign some papers on their computer and their little keypad, and then I am driving away in the car, and it's great, and you get a warranty for a good price, and there's just no fighting, no wrestling, no drama, and the people are generally really nice. So that's the model that, of course, we appreciate a lot, but we don't like the pricing. So we go to, but if you want to buy a new car, you want to buy a new Dodge, you've got to go into a Dodge dealership. And I will tell you, you know, in the past, I've bought lots of Mercedes, BMWs, long before I fell in love with these Dodge cars, and I was caught up in the egomaniac world, and I would go in and wrestle around for 4 or 5 hours over an S-Class Mercedes or a 7 Series BMW, and it doesn't change much. Between the Dodge dealership and the Mercedes dealership, the same brain damage occurs. Now, yes, at the Mercedes BMW dealership, they give you sparkling water and they'll feed you and they will treat you, you know, it's a little bit nicer experience, but it's the same brain damage no matter how you cut it. You still get rolled in the finance department for stuff you don't need. I mean, it's the same Foursquare, same dance on payments, just a nicer environment, and sometimes a little bit smoother salespeople, where sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, because it's easier to get sucked into their incredible web. So that leads me to the process, and the process really doesn't change that much. And if it has changed at certain dealerships and you're a car salesman, you can chime in and say that I'm wrong, but I'm talking from the consumer's perspective, meaning someone who goes in on my end and my audience's end and has to buy a car, and this is what we experience. And having literally bought, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 cars in the last 4 years, and pretty much every one of them from dealerships, only a couple from CarMax, I can tell you that the experience is fairly consistent. And here's how it goes. When I talk about the profiling, I don't want anybody to rush to judgment, and I want you to just understand what I mean by this. The salespeople are there in the dealership waiting for people to pull in, and generally there's a guy that's up next, and they're out on the point and they're waiting for a buyer to come in, or they're waiting for their appointments to come in, and you roll in and the next guy comes out and he immediately starts to size you up based on what you rolled in. They can figure out based on the year of the vehicle, the condition of the vehicle, that there's a percentage chance that you are going to be upside down in that car. So they will literally categorize their questions, organize their questions around your trade-in, and they will work their way into that thing pretty quickly, and you'll find that. But they'll always come out and start to ask questions, although they start off with the first question is, you know, how can I help you? What are you looking for? That kind of stuff. And they want to see if you know, because if you don't know, then you're not a buyer. If you say, I don't know, I just thought I'd pop in, then you're not a buyer, and they immediately start to think, oh geez, then they'll dig a little deeper. Well, you know, do you have a current car right now? You know, are you looking to buy? How soon did you need to buy? And they'll go through those questions, and you'll know those questions are them basically feeling you out. Sometimes they'll say, you have any questions about the car? Not that a lot of these folks know about the car that they're actually selling like they used to in the old days. This has led to a situation where rather than having a car salesman that is actually a consultant that knows about the product that they're selling, to more so somebody who's trained to negotiate the most money they could possibly get out of you and not really understand their product. I've been shocked and surprised at some dealerships, whether at Dodge or Toyota or Mercedes or BMW, where the salespeople knew less about the car than I knew about the car when I showed up, but they were really clear about how much they wanted to sell it to me for, and that they wanted to get me in the room. So they're going to ask you a bunch of qualifying, what they call qualifying questions to try to figure out if you're a real buyer. And I will tell you from my perspective, when I'm a buyer, I walk in and I look at them first just to jump past all the little deceptive questioning and just get right into, I'm here to buy a car today. I'm going to buy a car. I even pull my checkbook out of my pocket as just a prop to say, I am here to buy a car today. If you have the car that I want to buy, then, and you're willing to price it fairly, I'm okay with you making money as long as I don't get screwed. We will do a deal today. And what's your name, by the way? I'm Charles. Awesome. I'm Brad. Nice to meet you. And you know what? Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 2023 red eye. I'm looking for one in black with the red interior and the red belts. And, you know, I noticed you had one on the website. Yes, it's in the showroom floor. Would you like to come look at it? Yes, I would absolutely love to come look at it. I'm not going to jump into price yet. I want to really drive the point home that this guy knows that I'm a serious buyer, rather than get into a price haggling in 30 seconds into the conversation that generally isn't going to go anywhere. I want that conversation to be led by me, and I want to get this gentleman or gal tied to the sale. And now we're going to look at the car. Now it's on the showroom floor, so they're likely not going to allow me to drive that car. So that's a challenge. If the car's out on the lot, a smart car salesman is going to try to get you in that car as soon as they possibly can, because the sooner they get you in that car, the more likely that they're going to be able to sell you that car. And there's a belief that once you drive the car, you start to build that indebtedness, that feeling of obligation to buy something, to do something, and they will work you while they're in that car with you. And they'll also gauge your responses while you're driving that car. But now you're inside the showroom floor, you're looking at the car, and he's going to ask you, so, you know, you want to sit in it? You know, is this the car you're looking for? Would this one work? And he may even ask, you want us to pull it out so you can drive it? Because the harder it is for them to get the car out on the lot, the more guilty you're going to feel for getting that car dragged out to the lot and driving it and want to buy that car. And they know that. So if you're willing to let them go through all the trouble to pull the car out on the lot from the showroom floor, then you're likely a serious buyer, because most people, I know there's some of you out there that aren't this way, but most people are actually polite and fairly respectful, and they're not going to have somebody go through the trouble of yanking a car out of the showroom floor, shuffling around a bunch of cars, opening up the glass doors and going to that trouble if they're not serious about buying. So if you're serious about buying, now I'm serious about buying. When I'm serious about buying, I'm going to make them get that car out on the lot, because I'm dead serious and I want them to know. The only reason I would have you take this car out is because I want to buy this car. Now again, I'm still not talking price. Once we're in that car and we're driving, now we have this feeling of buddiness. You know, we're riding in the car together. It takes it out of their dealership and puts it more out in the field. And I'm going to have a conversation with them about price. So I notice you're asking $93,000 for this car. He's going to say, well, yeah, but we have, you know, a market adjustment because this is a really sought after car. I understand that, and frankly, I don't blame you guys. You want to get as much as you can for the car. I get it, but like I said when I got here, I don't mind you guys making money, but I also can't get screwed on the car. And, you know, I know that the car market's a little soft right now, and I also know this car's been sitting here for 93 days because you looked on Car Gurus. And I was hoping that you guys were maybe in a better spot right now to make a better deal. And then they're going to come back. Any good car salesman is going to say, well, what would you like to offer? And then you're going to say, I'm willing to start at MSRP. I mean, I'd love to get it for less, but I'm reasonable. MSRP, I'm a buyer. Well, there's no way we could do that, but let's go back and talk to my sales manager. Cool, I will play the game with you. This is the beginning of rolling in the dirt. Now what's going to happen is they're going to try to steer you towards a payment. They're going to ask you about your down payment. Do you have a trade-in? How much do you owe on that trade-in? Is that trade-in have a bunch of equity? Because if it has a bunch of equity in it, they're going to look at that trade-in as a way to get your payment down and make money on that trade-in as well if it's a good trade-in, and hose you on that trade-in, which puts an extra, let's say $2,000 or $3,000 of profit into their pocket, which definitely makes the deal a little better for them. But that down payment helps get you a better payment, so they're going to try to start selling you payment. And that's where they're going to pull the Foursquare out. And they might want to get you to apply for the loan. They might push you down that road. I tell them all the time, until we have a deal on price, I'm not going to have you bang my credit. It's just not going to happen, because if you guys are starting at $25,000 over and I'm starting at, you know, $25,000 less than you're asking, at MSRP, then it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to start banging on my credit. Wouldn't you agree? And I always follow up with, wouldn't you agree? And they're gonna, well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, what would you do if you were me? And they'll come back and say, you know what, you're right. No problem. They'll get the Foursquare out. I'd say about half of the time they're going to hit you with the Foursquare. It depends if they know you're a savvy buyer or not. If they don't think you're a savvy buyer, then they're not going to. Then they're going to pull the Foursquare out. And the Foursquare is intended to make you make micro commitments along the way with that salesperson. And the way the Foursquare works, they make the first offer is basically, what would you want to pay for the car? And then you're going to write it down, and they're going to try to steer you into what kind of payment would you like. And my suggestion to all of you is, if you already have your loan squared away, then you know what your payment's going to be, and you know that I am making a last-minute lane change. You know that the payment's irrelevant because you're bringing your own loan into the equation, which means you can go back and say, look, at $93,000, I'll buy this car. Well, could we do the financing? What's your current rate? And you can say, well, I've got 6% with my credit union. If you could beat that, happy to do it, but I'll only let you shop me one time. Meaning you can shop me through Dodge, or you can shop me through Ally, you can shop me through, but I don't want you to shotgun my credit. Otherwise, I'm good sticking with my credit union loan. Okay, well, let's just do the Foursquare and price. Now, they'll write down the price, and they might even start still trying to drill you on the payment. And if they do go down the road on the payment, which many of you will be in that conversation, they're gonna negotiate payment over price. You want to drive them back to negotiating price because you already know what your payment's going to be. But if you don't, and you're getting financing from them, then you're going to play the payment game. And the challenge with that is they're going to talk payment. They're not going to talk interest rate or term. They're going to say, what payment do you want to get? And if you get caught into that in that first box, you will then say, well, if I can get the car for $1,000 a month, then I would buy the car today. Well, how much do you want to put down? Well, I don't want to put anything down. Well, if you had to, could you put $5,000 down? Well, yeah, if I had to. And then he'll write $5,000 and $1,000 a month, and then he'll draw a line with an X and say, okay, sign here. And that signature means absolutely nothing. That is just to get you to make a micro commitment that you think when he leaves to go talk to the sales manager, which they're going to do nothing in that room, when he goes back to talk to that sales manager and comes back, you're going to be thinking maybe there's a chance for that next 5 minutes or 10 minutes, thinking maybe there's a chance that I'm going to actually leave in that car for what I just offered them. There's that little hope over common sense that starts to be instilled, and they bank on that while you're in the dealership. So when he comes back and says, okay, well, the second square is going to be what they offer you. That second square is going to be them saying, well, I can get you down to $1,282 a month with the same $5,000 down, and it's going to be a 72-month loan. And you go back and you say, well, I didn't want $1,300 a month, and through my, if hopefully you've got your credit union, I'm going to get it for $1,000 a month, so I'm good with that. What's the price on the car? Well, we're still at $105,000 because we've got a $10,000 markup on that. Well, no, you've got to get rid of that. Let's get back negotiating prices. Then you'll say, well, would you pay X? And then you go back and you write the price you would be willing to pay. And then he's going to go back. He's going to say, would you be willing to pay, 93? If at 93,000 were a deal, or he's going to say, how about at 96,000 would it be a deal? And you're going to say no. At 93,000 deal. He's going to write it back down there. If you're negotiating payment, he's going to write, maybe it's 1,100, you'd be willing to do the deal. He's going to write that down. He's going to make you sign it again. And then he's going to come back after you thinking, okay, maybe we're going to get a deal now, with another counter. The whole point of the Foursquare is the micro commitments. You're making these commitments, making you actually believe that you're going to have the car and envisioning yourself driving away in that car. And that's really slick salesmanship, because if you picture yourself leaving in that car, the thought of not leaving in that car is going to be fighting you all the way through this deal to their benefit. Once you get through with that, you'll land on a price, and hopefully, and you stayed firm and you went through the Foursquare. I've actually taken the Foursquare and flipped it over, and I've drawn like 9 squares on the back of the page and said, you're going to need a lot more squares to get exactly where we're going to get at this price. And then I write 93,000, and I'm using my own financing, and I'll leave today in this car. And I turn it around and say, here, sign right here, or go get your manager to sign, and let's get this deal over with and save ourselves 3 hours. And he'll say, well, let me go see what I can do. and he'll come back with the Foursquare flipped around again, and he'll come back and say, look, we can go to 100. We can come off the 100 to 100, from 105 to 100. You write back down, listen, we're not going to make it to there, and I'm going to freaking miss you because I've grown to like you already. But here's the deal. I'm going to write down $93,000, and I'm the person that can do this deal today. I don't see anyone else in this dealership right now. There isn't a line out in front. There isn't a popcorn machine, clowns and circuses handling the crowd control to get to this car. So we need to, we need to secure this thing before I start losing my like for you and love for you and my patience and walk out. And I'm going to do it very respectfully when I walk out, but I'm going to walk out, and I'm going to give you a heads up. So you want to go back and see if he wants to do 93,000? Oh, okay. And you're just holding firm, and you're doing it nice. You're like, listen, I respect what you're trying to do, but I can't pay that. And then he's going to go back, and he's going to come back. At some point, you're going to be at an impasse, or you're going to have a deal. And if you're at an impasse, get up, shake their hand, and wish them the best. If you make a deal, just know that it's not over. So he's going to go now run your credit, and they're going to come back and say, okay, well, now that we ran your credit, you know, the loan's going to be this, we can only get you this financing, which is, again, why you need to have your own loan in place before you go buy one of these cars, especially one of these expensive cars. If you didn't do that, then you're going to go back through that Foursquare all over again about payment, and it's going to make your brain hurt. So just be prepared with your own loan. Once you get through that and you guys agree on a deal, they're going to sit you in a room, and they're going to wait till finance is available to put you in the room. Then when you get into the room with finance is going to try to sell you all kinds of other stuff or slip the other stuff on you with this other form. Well, let me back up. Somewhere along the process, they're either going, if they don't use the Foursquare, they're going to use this other form, which shows the purchase price of the car and all the costs of the car involved, as well as any add-ons and markups. And it's going to have 3 or 4 boxes. I'll put up on the screen what it looks like, that shows what your payments would be for the term based on the down payment. But nowhere on there is going to say what the interest rate is. This form is starting to be used more than the Foursquare. And this form just lays out a generic payment at what I believe to be a horrible interest rate. And this happened to me when I bought the Toyota Supra, and I walked out of one dealership for my daughter where they kept putting this stuff in front of me and kept re-adding in a bunch of add-ons and kept just trying to sell me on payment because I was a good borrower with great credit, so they just margined my payment up higher to allow room to negotiate and keep their add-ons built into the deal, because there's a lot of profit in those add-ons. So they were trying to play the game, and I kept saying, take those off, and the rate needs to be lower because my credit union rate is a lot lower. And we went back and forth, and finally I realized that the third time he showed back up to me with the add-ons, another $2,500 in add-ons. And when I asked to remove them, then he came back with still like $1,000 in add-ons. Finally, he came back and still left the $500 in add-ons. I had it at that point, and I was done. And that's when my wife and I decided to walk. You can go watch that video where I share that story. So basically, you're going to go through all that. Then you're going to go to finance. And finance is going to try to sell you Sillajet. They're going to try you door edge guards. They're going to try to sell you upfront maintenance packages. They're going to actually have a whole sheet, usually it's laminated, and show you all the stuff. And they've been trained very well in selling you this stuff. And I can tell you, just stand firm. It's not that the stuff isn't good stuff, it's that it's overpriced. It's significantly overpriced. So unless you can get it for about 30%, 20 to 30% of what they're offering it for you at, you're giving them a massive, 400, 500% profit on those products. So with that, let's go into this dealership and see if they have any red eyes here, or that red eye here, check out some pricing, and then we'll wrap this video up. All right, we are at the Dodge dealership here, and let's check out some of the cars. Sorry for this video going a little long, but it's a lot to cover. Oh, look at that, the new 300C with the Hemi. Look at that. That's nice. For $56,595. I don't see a markup sticker. Wow, this would be a cool car to have. There's a Hellcat. $10,000 markup. $97,000. A red eye? Oh, it's a regular Hellcat. I'll sit in the stick. $10,000 markup on this shaker. Wow. Damn. This is a red-eye jailbreak for 104. Wow. Blue stripes. This is gorgeous. Wow. 134,000. $30,000 markup. Wow. I'll watch it. If it's still here in 2 months, maybe you guys will come down.
All right.
You know, all right, thanks, man. Thanks. So that's how that goes, folks. That's exactly how that goes. They tell you that there's not going to be any more of these cars. It's the last ones. They're all scripted to say the same exact thing. And I get it, man. They want to make the sale. But 30,000 over, you know, they're smoking dope. And yes, they may only have a couple allocations, and that means they got to make all the money they can on it. But they'll tell you, and believe me, this guy is convincing, that you've got to wait. That by waiting, you're going to be screwed, move sooner than later. Yet these cars are sitting on these lots for months and months, and nobody's paying these humongous markups. Now, if he would have came back and said, give me 5,000 over, that's one thing, but he's holding firm at $30,000. So, yes, and what you do with dealers like this is you walk. You walk out, and you go to the next one, and you keep calling, because I promise you, things are changing. The banks aren't going to carry these markups. The buyers can't afford them. The world is not the world it used to be. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, comment, be respectful as usual in those comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.